Scott Bach, how are you, sir?
I am glad to be back on the show with you gentlemen.
Hi, Scott.
John, hey, how you doing, Cameron? And John, I have to say, I think your voice sounds a little better with a cold.
Thank you. Do I sound like Barry White?
Not quite,
okay.
but
It's husky.
Up next, it's Scott Bach. So, Scott, what's not happening in the Garden State this week?
Yeah, have you slept at all this week, Scott?
No, I really haven't. I'm a little cranky, frankly, but you know, on the heels of the bear hunt, we had the Aitken thing breaking, and
I know.
I just moved this our right to carry lawsuit forward to the next phase. It's been a busy week, and as I've been saying all day to folks, we still have an uphill climb, but the train isn't moving backwards anymore, and it's not standing still. It's starting to move in the right direction, and we're going to keep it going.
That's awesome. Now let's work our way back to. We're going to start with. No, where do I start? I'm sorry, I'm confused. But the first thing I want to say is Cameron, great quote. I don't know if you heard this the other night. I got to give him credit for this. It's my favorite quotes of the week. So we're hoping you're going to have a Merry Christmas this Christmas.
I caught that. That was very clever. Very good.
Anyway, so
hey, have you talked to Brian at all, Scott?
I haven't. He's been, frankly, pretty private, with limited exceptions. He's just regaining his life, and we want to give him his space.
Well, I was going to say in opposition, that not in a bad way, but Evan Nappen, our good friend there, an attorney, he had nothing but good things to say about you, sir, and the state association, the NRA as well. So this is a great win and a case that just so quickly, Scott, bubbled up to being just a big deal, not only in New Jersey but all over the country. This case resonated with people.
No, this thing definitely took off. It took on a life of its own. It went viral. I have to say, Evan Nappen is very kind. He is a phenomenal attorney, and it was a team effort that got Brian Aitken out. Okay, a lot of it was behind the scenes and can never be discussed, but I have to say that it's one of the most gratifying things that we've seen. And I have to say, guys, that a lot of times we're fighting battles, over a piece of legislation, and yes, it affects everybody in the state. But when you have one person sitting in jail, it really hits home. It's personal. And the one thing that was going through my mind this entire process, and this process has been going on 6-8 weeks, by the way, is this man is sitting in jail because the system has failed him, and we have got to get him out, and then we've got to fix the system. I will tell you that Evan did an unbelievable job of strategy, Evan Nappen, of strategy and advocacy, and the governor did the right thing, and I can tell you, I've been a gun rights advocate for almost a dozen years. This is the first positive thing I have seen out of the executive branch of New Jersey in 12 years. So this is huge.
Wow.
Let me ask you this question, Scott. It's awesome that Brian Aitken is out, and I'm happy for the family. But I'm already moving towards the next level and the next step, and I'm thinking about this judge and this judge who put him in prison in the first place. There's got to be something the citizens of New Jersey can do. We'll get through Christmas, get through New Year's, but in the next year, are you planning anything? Is there anything that can be done about this? This judge just sounds like a dangerous man.
Well, the first thing is he is a dangerous man, but the first thing you should know is he is serving a sentence of his own, and I use that term figuratively, as an ex-judge. He's no longer a judge. I don't know if you guys knew that,
right.
But Governor Christie did not reappoint him earlier this year for other reasons, and so it's quite fitting that he's no longer sitting on the bench. I can tell you that there are all kinds of potential options because he is now a civilian.
Right.
But I can tell you that the time for those options to come forward will be after the appeal that Evan Nappen is handling is over. I can tell you that we are focused on this from a lot of perspectives. The judge is a bad judge, but the system failed Brian Aitken too,
right.
And at every level. In fact, I'm working on an op-ed piece, and it occurred to me that the entire system has failed him, from New Jersey's insane gun laws, that turn honest citizens into felons, to the arresting police officer who believed that Brian Aitken was moving and therefore shouldn't have arrested him, but did, to the legislature, which bumped up the penalty for so-called unlawful possession 2 years ago and ignored our warnings. We warned them 2 years ago that this kind of thing would happen, and they laughed it off, and Governor Corzine rammed it through 2 years ago to the judge. So it's the whole system. And we think the time is ripe right now to propose a legislative package that will address some of the largest and most significant concerns that this case has brought up.
And Scott, shifting gears quickly here, let's talk about a lawsuit that you guys have brought against, and in your words, proceeding swiftly. A motion for summary judgment was made Monday by plaintiffs in the recently filed lawsuit challenging New Jersey's handgun carry laws. What's the story with that? What's going on?
Okay, just to get everybody up to speed on this, this is New Jersey's post-Heller and McDonald first challenge, and we've taken on New Jersey's insane right-to-carry laws. The way you get a carry permit in New Jersey, theoretically, you can get one, but in practice, it's nearly impossible.
It's out there. You've heard of it, but you just haven't really seen it.
Right.
It's a rumor.
Well, you've got to get your local police chief to approve it, and then you've got to get a judge to approve it. And the judge can overrule the local police chief, and the prosecutor gets to weigh in. And in New Jersey, you have to prove what's known as justifiable need, okay, which has been interpreted to mean urgent necessity as demonstrated by verifiable threats. So by the time you could qualify, it's too late. Okay, now in the wake of Heller and McDonald, it's pretty clear that standard is unconstitutional, because since when do you have to prove need to exercise a constitutional right? Imagine if you had to prove need in order to exercise free speech. It's insane. So we brought this lawsuit. We joined in this lawsuit about a month ago. And, normally lawsuits will proceed at a snail's pace. I can tell you we are moving this very rapidly. For us to have brought this motion, it's a summary judgment motion, which means if we win it, the case is over. And now, we discuss appeals. A huge amount of work has gone into moving this swiftly. We've actually entered into a scheduling order with the Attorney General's office. All the papers at this trial level are going to be before the court by early March, and we could have a decision from the lower court in New Jersey as early as late spring, which, of course, would set us up nicely for the inevitable appeals that will follow.
Very good. It's good to see that moving swiftly for once. A little swift justice never hurt anyone.
We're on a tear, and we have more planned.
Wow. So I guess finally, you mentioned it earlier. Let's talk a little bit about the Bears as well. Before we get into another big story out of New Jersey. That went really well after years and years, Scott, of fighting to get that back, and the former governor just knocking the whole thing out as far as all the bear hunts back, and everything seemed to went very, very well.
Well, it's the most significant bear hunt we've had since 1970. Okay, we had two in 2003 and 2005, which were hard won, but they were kind of anemic hunts. I think our bear population is 3,500 to 4,000 in obviously a highly populated state. The 2003 and 2005 hunts took about 250 to 300 bears each. This hunt that we just had took just under 600. It's the first hunt that's really making a dent in the population, and we really do have a bear overpopulation crisis. We have bears breaking into cars, into homes, taking a swat at people. It's actually pretty serious because New Jersey bears have learned not to be afraid of humans, and so there's nowhere to put them. There are folks saying, well, we should sterilize them all, okay, which, of course, is unfunded and doesn't take care of the existing bears. So the only alternative has been a limited bear hunting. I will say, to Governor Christie's credit, again, he's the difference that made the difference for a bear hunt in 2010. Corzine did everything he could, including, I think, manipulating the state Supreme Court, which basically just became pretty much twisted and manipulated the law to get the intended result, which was no hunt, to time out the clock.
Well, Scott, I also read something too that he had some science on this side, and they didn't put it out.
That's absolutely right. And not only did they not put it out, what they did put out, they criticized. They criticized their own science.
Right.
Okay. Corzine just decided there was not going to be a bear hunt, and in New Jersey, everything's political, including court appointments, including at the highest level. So, there's some pressure on state appellate and Supreme Court justices to do what the governor wants on a high-profile issue. And so, they were able to, bend the law to almost the breaking point. And ironically, now that Governor Christie is in, the same judges, when all the appeals came, and there were several lawsuits, well, suddenly they found, that the science was good and that the bear hunt would proceed. It's a pretty interesting process. The whole game is rigged in the Garden State.